idea of leprosy. The rabbis took it a step farther. It was forbidden to even greet lepers, to say hello to them. They came up with a leper zone of four cubits. It's about 6 feet. You not only did you not touch a leper, you made sure you were at least 6 feet or more away from a leper, just to make sure you wouldn't accidentally touch them. Some rabbis, the real religious ones, the real Orthodox ones, they would take stones and they would throw them at lepers if they saw them coming, just to say, you keep your distance. I'm pure. Stay away. This man was under a dreadful curse. But then came the cure. Jesus touched him. And that was something that you just didn't do. Not to a leper. And for all kinds of reasons. I've just gone through a list of some of them. And lepers knew better than to approach rabbis. They knew the thinking out there. They knew what would happen if they even tried. But I'm thinking this leper must have sensed something different about Jesus. Something different. Perhaps he was on the fringes as he listened to Jesus teach his lessons and the Sermon on the Mount and heard him teaching other places and heard about Jesus and thought, you know what? This is not your average rabbi. There's something different about this man. There was something that got in this leper's mind that said, Jesus can do something for me. Jesus is different. And notice in verse 40, this leper, he doesn't question Christ's power to heal him of an incurable disease. No question. He only questions his willingness. If you're willing, you can make me clean. Extraordinary faith right there. Now, he broke laws by coming to Jesus, but he broke man-made laws that were set up by those who saw themselves as more important even than the Word of God. And he breaks the law, but Jesus sees him and he meets his need. And Jesus sees a man who is coming to him and completely submitting himself to his will. And that's what he's still looking for today as we approach him. Letting ourselves be completely open. Whatever you say, Jesus. And then Jesus is willing to risk exposure and defilement, according to their laws, by reaching out and touching this man. Luke, who was a doctor, he describes it as the man being, quote unquote, full of leprosy. I'm thinking that probably means an advanced case. This man's gone for a long time in this condition. How long, you might ask? How long had it been since this man had been touched by anyone who was not themselves also a leper? See, when Jesus reached out and touched this man, he's going against just all kinds of rules everywhere. And since the Jews connected suffering with sin, then they go on and they reason in their minds, this man can't be God. He can't be the Son of God because God cannot have contact with sin and therefore sort of does damage to Jesus' message. But still, he reaches out and he touches him. Keep in mind, he was the Son of God. He can heal with a word. He can heal with a wave of his hand. He can point and you're healed. But he chose in this case, very deliberately, very specifically, to reach out and touch this man. To offer that touch. You know, touch means more to us than maybe we think. Studies have even been conducted along those lines. There's just something about human touch. We're wired that way. It's almost as though when God wrapped us in flesh, he knew something about us. And there's something about touching that can even help with healing. And doctors have seen this. So Jesus decided, the way I'm going to heal this man, yes, it was a miracle, is I'm going to reach out and touch him. And he did. And the man appears to be clean. But Jesus still didn't want him to neglect treatment. You see, as he healed this man, He wanted him to not only be physically whole, he wanted him to be socially whole. And so he's going to go through and fulfill the requirements of the law. Jesus says, here's what I want you to do. Go show yourself to the priest. After all, that's what it says in Leviticus. And the priest was the one who could officially declare the man healed. Not just by looking, but by going through the process and going through that proclamation. And what would happen if you read Leviticus chapter 14, you see all the procedures for going through this. The priest would come in and would examine the individual, and if the individual looked like they were clean, then you'd go to the next step, and that's to bring in 2 birds, and you'd kill them over running water, and then you'd take one of the birds and with cedar and scarlet and hyssop. You say, why all that? Because God said so. You take the cedar, scarlet, the hyssop, you dip all of that into the dead bird's blood, and then you wash the candidate. You set the other bird free. You kill one, dip him in the blood, set him free. You shave the head. You shave the eyebrows. Then you give a head-to-toe examination. If the candidate then still looks clean, then you offer even more sacrifices. And the person is examined once again. And if everything looks good, then the priest can say, after having gone through all that procedure in Leviticus 14, you're clean. You're healed. You're cured. Now, the priest in Jerusalem was some 40 to 50 miles away. You know, Jesus is requiring this man to go through some sort of effort. But he wants him to be completely whole. You go to the priest, you show yourself, and then you'll be pronounced cured. And then Jesus makes a strange request. Keep quiet about all this. Which brings me to the third point we'll make this morning, and it's this. It's the claim. Look at verse 45. He went out and began to proclaim it freely and to spread the matter. Keep quiet. Don't tell anybody. He does just the opposite. But you know, it is hard to keep quiet about good news when you are personally involved. I don't know how many times I've seen the commercials here lately. Maybe some of you sent this in. Publishers Clearinghouse. Might as well give them a plug. We want to give our weekly advertisement from the pulpit. You know they're having a contest right now. You can win $5,000 a week for life. Anybody seen that commercial? And then when you die, someone you name gets the $5,000 for life. That's they want to know both names so they can send their hit squad out. Well, I don't know. Forget that. What a prize! And all of a sudden you get that call. I've won $5,000 a week for life. What do? I send it in an envelope. Or maybe you sit back and tell them, no, something tells me you're probably going to call up a friend and say, you won't believe what happened to me. This is unbelievable. Jesus had made a life-changing difference in this man's life. He just couldn't keep quiet about it. Jesus says, keep it under your hat. He can't do it. Could not keep the claim silent. He goes out and begins to proclaim it freely. Now I ask, what about us? You know, if you're a Christian, then you've been healed of a disease that's far worse than leprosy. Far more devastating, far more deadly. Oh, it may be slow moving. May live with it for an entire lifetime. Told to keep quiet about his cure, and he couldn't. We've been told, on the other hand, to let people know. And I ask, do we? See, I'm thinking about what Jesus might tell us today. And I believe it's closer to what we read in the 5th chapter of Mark. Jesus had just cast some demons out of a man, and the man wanted to follow him. But Jesus said, no, I don't want you to follow me. Here's what I want. We'll put this verse on the screen, Mark 5 and verse 19. Instead, Jesus told that man, go home to your friends and tell them what good things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you. I think that's what we are told today. That's what Jesus is telling us. Go out and tell it. Let other people know. Let them know the way that you were. Let them know the way that you are now. Let them know what made the difference. Tell them about me. Let them know my story. You can tell your story, and that's not unimportant, but let them know my story. Let them know about the cross. Let them know that Jesus died for them as well. Jesus saved me. Jesus wants to save you. Go home to your friends. Let them know, what has Jesus done in your life. Jesus showed compassion on me while I was still a sinner. Christ died for me. That's what I think he is telling us today. It just came out of the overflow. He was so filled with the good news, it just came out. And maybe the reason we don't talk about it is because we don't feel that way. Or we don't really completely understand and appreciate the difference that Jesus has made in our lives. So let me ask, if we're not the evangelists that we need to be, could it be because of that? A lack of real appreciation for the work of Jesus. I remind you of a few words from the Apostle Paul. First of all, Romans 3:23. God's grace through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. In the 5th chapter of Romans, he says that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Much more then, having now been justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. Then in Romans 6 and verse 4, he says we were buried with him by baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. We've been offered the cure. Jesus died for us, and he calls us to be baptized in his name. And in just a moment, we're going to, as a matter of convenience, offer that invitation. We do that every time we come together. If you're ready to be baptized in the name of Jesus, to be buried with him, to be resurrected with him, you can do that before you leave this building this morning. And what you're doing is accepting, receiving, believing in the cure that he offers. And when you come up out of that water, there's something else he's asking. I want you to walk in a new life, but I want you to be talking about it. I want you to go out and make the claim. That's what Paul did. Saul of Tarsus. He was going on the road to Damascus. He was looking for Christians that he could persecute, that he could take to prison, that he could even, if need be, kill. And he saw a light come from heaven, and it was Jesus himself. I'm going to tell you what happened on the road to Damascus. Saul of Tarsus had a conversion experience. He still did what we're all called to do. Ananias says, arise, be baptized, wash away your sins, calling on the name of the Lord. That's still the invitation if you want to follow Christ today. Be baptized in his name, wash away your sins, call on the name of the Lord, proclaim the name of the Lord. Paul was converted. And what was it that changed Saul of Tarsus? You say, oh, that light, that voice, that experience. Yes, but I would say one thing that changed Saul of Tarsus. Touch of the master's hand. Many years ago, 1921, Myra Brooks Welch wrote a poem by that exact title. And I'll close with that. She writes, "'Twas battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it scarcely worth his while to waste much time on the old violin, but he held it up with a smile. What am I bidding, good folk?" he cried. "Who'll start the bidding for me? $1, then $2. Only $2. And who'll make it $3? $3 once, $3 again, going for $3. But no, from the room far back, a gray-haired man came forward and picked up the bow. Then wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening the loosened strings, he played a melody, pure and sweet as a caroling angel sings. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, said, "Now what am I bid for the old violin?" And he held it up with the bow. $1,000, and who'll make it $2? $2,000, and who'll make it $3? $3,000 once, $3,000 twice, and going and gone, cried he. The people cheered, but some of them cried, "We do not quite understand. What changed its worth?" Swift came the reply, "The touch of the Master's hand." Many a man with life out of tune, battered and scarred by sin, is auctioned cheap to a thoughtless crowd, much like the old violin. Mess of pottage, glass of wine, a game, and he travels on. He's going once and going twice. He's going and almost gone. But the Master comes and the foolish crowd never can quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that's wrought by the touch of the Master's hand. That's what makes a difference. That's what makes the difference in those of us who've been saved, who've received Jesus, who've obeyed Jesus, who are following Jesus. And he calls us to go out and make the claim. Can you, are you going out and making the claim that Jesus touched me and that has made the difference in my life? Have you been touched by the Master's hand? Have you received that touch? Have you obeyed his call? If you need to in a public way, we'd encourage you to come to the front while we sing together.
I hear the Savior say, "Thy strength indeed is small. Child of weakness, watch and pray. Find in me all to him I owe. Sin and left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow. Lord, now indeed I find thy power and thine alone can change the leper's spots and melt the heart of stone. Jesus paid sin had left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow. And in me I'll lay my trophies down, all down at Jesus' feet. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow. May be seated.
Granville Dean, would you come forward, please? I knew he wouldn't be shy. I was prepared to send Don Jackman after him, though. Granville is a man that I have loved and appreciated for many years. And there are a number of reasons for that, not the least of which has been his work with establishing and running the Ramp Ministry. Now, some of you may not be Granville. In addition to Granville Dean, Wilton McKinney, would you please come forward, and Eddie Watson, and Alfred Anderson isn't here, but many of you know Alfred from the past. He was a member at Madison Street for many years. Eddie Watson, is Eddie here? I don't believe he's here today. David Schmitto, Ray Berry, and Steve Batson. Would you all come on up, please? Steve Batson. Steve may not be here either. These are the gentlemen who have worked literally hundreds of hours over several years now to build these ramps for people who desperately need them in order to be able to get in and out of their homes. It's been my pleasure to work with these men in a number of ways, and at least on one occasion I was able to work with them in building one of those ramps. They're some of the smartest and most kind-hearted men that I know. Others who have helped or have offered to help in the past are Ben Mims, Bob Lewis, William Osborne, Robert and Karen McLaughlin, Nell Rayburn, Tim Alsop, Clayton Olive, Sean Flanagan, Ken Allen, Garrett Dickerson, Sheridan Ledbetter, and Greg Troop. And I hope I haven't missed anyone. If I do, I apologize. Ron and Deb Holt, though, in Granville's own words, Ron and Deb Holt, our most important and beloved members, they bring the lunch. And that is very important. Now I know a lot of you may be surprised to know that I actually helped build a ramp on one occasion.
Used a jackhammer too.
Well, now you've got Randall's word on that, but just in case you still doubt, we have proof. Now, what's important about this photograph is not that I'm using the jackhammer, although I'm glad it's not a video, because then you would see how long I lasted with that jackhammer. But what's important about it, besides the fact that the late James Combs is standing there, it was a privilege for me to be working that day with men like James Combs. Also, what's important about this photograph is there is a cell number there, and we would like to invite you to participate in this ministry by helping maybe a Saturday morning on the weekend, or some half a day during the week sometime if you're retired. But that cell number is my cell number, and I have agreed to coordinate the scheduling of the workers for this ministry, and I would appreciate it very much if any of you who are willing to do so would call that number and let me know that you're willing to help. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to help every time we build a ramp, because there are a lot of ramps being built. In fact, they've got a queue of about 4 or 5 right now that they have to get built and installed in the next few weeks.
How many have they built already?
How many have you built?
211, I think.
211. And how many years?
That is probably about 8.
About 8 years?
Somewhere around.
I thought it was more than
I don't know
that,
exactly
but
when it was started.
that's a lot of ramps in 8 years.
We build about between 25 and 30 a year. We built 26 last year.
So, if you would like to have the privilege of working with gentlemen like these, call that number and give me your name, please. Thank you.
Lest I take credit where none is due, David Schmitto planted the seed of the ramp ministry. He and Lars DeBerry wrote to me into this. Thank you.
Just a couple of youth group announcements. Tonight is our area-wide. We'll be at Coopertown. We're going to leave here, take the bus at 5 o'clock, and then be back around 8:45 to go to Coopertown for our teen area-wide. And then next month, on the March the 12th, Trenton Crossing will be hosting the area-wide for the local churches that are all involved in that. So we want to invite you guys on March the 12th to come at from 6 to 8, and we'll have a Devo and a time to eat. But the congregation is welcome to that. So if you can please adjust your life groups to where you guys can come, that would be awesome for you to participate in our area-wide life group. I mean, area-wide on March the 12th. It is kind of teen focused, but everyone is welcome to come to that. Also, if you signed up for a t-shirt, we just did a new youth group t-shirt. If you had signed that list, I've got those t-shirts. I'll be back by the bulletin board to hand those out. And then also, if you need Lylewood Picking and Ribs tickets, Scott Rollins will be in the back, and myself, we can take a check or cash for those tickets. And I'm going to have my Square, so if you want to pay with debit or credit card for those tickets, that's going to be available also. We are getting together and coming together and getting our team. Right now, our team is around, give or take, 15 to 17 to go to Honduras this summer. So we have an awesome crew planning to go to Honduras this summer. And so be aware, March the 5th, we're going to be having another movie night. Look for opportunities to give. If you'd like to make a donation toward our youth missions, money from that goes toward Honduras and our work camp that we're doing this summer and various service activities. But another way that you can help, one of the saddest things for me is when we go and work in the medical mission, and they come from miles around. They wait hours at a time just to receive medicines so that we can go to any local pharmacy, Walgreens, Walmart, whatever, Kroger, and grab to fix some of the itches and some of the minor things that can be painful, that can be very irritating, but hours just to receive some relief for some of those things. And think about your children whenever they have a cold, or how miserable they look when they're sick, and you can give them medicines to heal that over a day or two, where they don't have access for those type of things for their children. And so one of the main things that we run out of when we go on those types of activities to serve is children's chewable and adult vitamins, Benadryl, children's liquid Benadryl, Claritin. And throughout the next few months, Jody Mann has put together there's a box over here by this table, and there's a box by this table, and there's these little cards that are on each table that you can grab. And we are going to be taking those donations for the next few months, and we're going to take all that with us to be able to help supply and give these people through our medical missions these very needed medicines. So if you can, please go by and grab one of these off the table. I think we're going to have a different medicine maybe each month or variety throughout up until we leave. But this is our first list. You can grab one of these and bring them and put them in those boxes over the next few weeks. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Good morning. I promise this is the last one getting up for announcements. Appreciate all those who did come up, and thank you for the ramp ministry and all the work that it does, and thank you, Marlon, for helping out and taking over part of that workload from Granville. The ramp ministry is a great ministry, and we appreciate all the work that's being done by all the people that's involved, and we're really thankful for all that. Welcome to our visitors. We're glad you're here. Stick around a little bit, and so we get to know you and meet with you and everything, and visit and go over to the Welcome Center if you have not done already, and get a packet over there. A few announcements. On Wednesday night, there's a new ladies class that is starting. The title is Live or Die, Study of Philippians in room 101. Aaron Yao will be teaching that. And Jennifer Downs and Kelly Galbraith asked me to ask all the girls of the youth group to meet in the youth room right after service today for about 10 minutes. One other thing, out here at the end of the building, under the canopy, it's a good place to drop off people when it's raining and inclement weather and all that. But please do not park and leave your vehicle there because it's hard for other people to get through and blocks off traffic. So please do not park under there for any length of time. As far as the sick, Jeff Shockley's dad is doing better from what he said, and we're thankful for that. We'd like to pass on our sympathy to Rachel Curry and her family for passing of her grandmother this past week. Bow with me, please. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this wonderful day that you've given to us to allow us to be here to worship you and learn more about your word and the power that Jesus has over everything. And we know that he's powerful in our lives if we just let him. And we pray that we always seek your guidance and direction and look to you for the strength that we need in our lives. And pray for those, dear Lord, that they're suffering at this time at different places and different stages of their life, and that you help them to rely on you for the strength that they need to get through the difficult times they're facing. We pray that you'll watch over this church, help us to grow, help us to reach out to the community and the world and the things that's being done, that everything be done to glorify your name. Help us through this week that we glorify you and the people that we meet, and the people will know that we're Christians by the way we act. Watch over, protect us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please stand.
To Canaan's land I'm on my way.